and you took a cab home, you're always thinking they're ripping you off because there's no easy way to get there. Either they take you all the way around, and you're like, oh, they're just doing it to
Yeah.
add to the price, or if they take you through, it's like, oh, I'm gonna die, because there's like neighborhoods that you should never go through, and at least back, when I was living there, I lived there from '86 to '96. So
Okay, it was a bit ago. So we're finally live. We finally did it. StreamYard did the thing. So,
great.
hey everyone, how's it going? It's I, the real Randy Chavez. I'm interviewing Gary Baseman, who's an American artist, cartoonist, and animator who uses his art to investigate history, heritage, and the human condition. We'll be talking about his works, having stuff published in the New York Times, Rolling Stone, Wall Street Journal,
Yeah, here we go.
best-selling board game Cranium, and then a bunch of his stuff happened to go get animated for the Emmy and BAFTA award-winning series Teacher's Pet and more.
Sounds close.
That's close.
Close enough.
Okay. So thank you for coming here today. There's a couple of things that we have to go over as we get ready for your drop that we have to do.
Right.
I'd say you're up until now, and maybe this might be more popular on VeVe, I don't know, but Toby, everyone knows you for, both in the app on VeVe, outside of it. He's been in pictures with internet celebrities like PewDiePie, big celebrities like John Travolta, beautiful naked women, graveyards, and more. What's been your favorite picture of him so far?
It's a good question. When I created Toby, again, the real idea was to blur the lines between fine art and toy culture. So when so again, he started off as as this alter ego when I drew him in my sketchbook,
Oh,
and then I started using him more and more in my art as this kind of representation of your best friend and someone who's the keeper of your secrets. And um, then when I had the show in 2005, so he's 19 now. Next year he's going to turn 20, and in a year later he'll be 21, so he'll be drinking age. Um, so in 2005, I started taking the prototype around. So the way it worked was that I was in Italy, I was in Rome, and I was married at the time in a marriage that was not successful. Well, I don't know if you don't want to call it that, but my ex-wife, when she was my wife, kind of refused to be in photos when we were traveling.
mhm.
And so it was like, well, I want to, want to document our travels. And this is pre-cell phone. And so then I said, oh, I'll start putting Toby in it. And that's how it all kind of started. So the whole idea of taking him around and capturing him in places. And it started off a little bit like that, but then it ended up turning into wherever I traveled, he kind of disarmed people. So, and in some ways, when I would take a photo of him somewhere, he kind of ended up more like celebrating the culture. So instead of making fun of things, and then sometimes people think, oh, you're taking a photo of him somewhere, you're making fun of my culture. And it's like, no, actually, he's celebrating your culture. So one of my favorite photos is him in a sumo dojo in Tokyo. So I was there and I was actually doing a photo shoot, and then in the ring where the sumo wrestlers fight, traditionally women aren't allowed in the ring. They're not allowed to touch the ground. And but Toby can. And so then I had him with a sumo wrestler, and we did some videos and we did some photos, and that's actually one of my favorites. Another one, I got up really, really early to in Abbey Road in London.
Cool.
And I captured, you know, a photo of him there. I'm trying to see if I can grab a few photos. One of my favorite photos, and I've taken all of them except for one generally. And the one photo that I really love that I didn't take was my friend Michael Muller took a photo of Toby in the mouth of a great white shark.
Oh my God.
I personally have taken photos of Toby with Tasmanian devils, with surrounded by 2,000 rhinos. Um, I've had him in interesting and odd kind of places. And for me, it's kind of like documenting my life, but also understanding the culture. Like if I'm in Red Square in Russia, or at the Great Wall of China, or in Angkor Wat in Cambodia, like places that are, but also another place I got myself in trouble was in Auschwitz. So my parents are actually Holocaust survivors, and I'm also trying to finish a documentary about my travels back to my parents' original hometowns. And so I was in Auschwitz, and I tried to do it in a way, take the photos that are respectful. So instead of showing his face, because he has a big smile, showing him from the back or the side, but of course, people don't understand what I was trying to do. And actually, the photos are really strong. But I had the Auschwitz police stop me and have a long talk with me. But um, so here's like the one at Abbey Road. But these are the real ones versus. Okay,
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah. So capturing that like literally at 6 in the morning before there's so many tourists.
Yeah.
Um, Here's another one. Whoop. That's the one in
That's great.
so that was great. But then also I was in Cadiz, Spain during Semana Santa, which is Holy Week. And it's actually a very big family holiday. But if you're American, it looks like it's the Klan, even though it's not. It deals with penance and the crazy thing, a lot of these people who are wearing these seriously scary costumes are kids,
Yeah.
but you can't tell. But here is like, and I had this,
Okay.
whoa, I had the secret police in Cadiz after me. And then when they kind of discovered that was what I was doing and not making fun of the holiday, but kind of documenting it, I had a big story in the paper. In So, and then he's been to Carnival in Brazil. It goes on and on. It's just like
Yeah,
interesting
he's been everywhere.
kind of places. Yeah, yeah. Like this is the one that I was talking about
Oh, whoa.
in Auschwitz. So, um, a lot of I'll do some that are kind of touristy. Like here over the Great Wall.
Amazing.
You know, but then when I loved with VeVe when we did the first digital collectible, I love that AR ability so that people can take Toby in pictures. And I started taking the AR. I mean, even though I take the real one around, I love being able to capture really interesting, odd photos with the AR digital VeVe Toby. And I've done that in many places. And I did it with a Hollywood sign, which is like, I mean, I love those photos a lot too. So it's like, it's
You were
so,
mentioning,
yeah.
sorry,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
that you were mentioning the that holiday. You once made your own holiday. Tell us
I
about that.
Yeah, with my exhibitions, I always try to create a certain theme, and usually a character gets developed from that theme and a body of work. And in LA, it was actually after going to Brazil a couple times
Yeah.
and finding myself in the middle of Carnival, which was so outrageously amazing to see a whole culture celebrating life. And those that have means and don't have means all celebrate and put on these amazing costumes and go into the street and just dance and music and food and then when I came back to LA, this holiday La Noche de la Fusión was created. And it was the holiday, and I used Spanish in a way because I wanted to create the impression that this was a holiday that existed around the world. And it was the night of the blending, blurring, fusing of
Okay, that's what that means.
societal walls that would come down for that one night.
Yeah.
So for us, and for a while, I had many exhibitions dealing with this sense of who are we? What is our true self? And how do we accept ourselves? You know? we want people to love us, but I think you got to get back to how do you love yourself, but not in a like a selfish way, more in a way of we all deal with our upbringing and our life and our expectations. And sometimes those expectations aren't what you think it is. You know,
Yeah.
where you end up in life of what you think you should be doing, or what your parents told us we should be doing, or what our elders or our teachers or other loved ones, grandparents, and you get to a point in life and it's like, this is who I am, and then you either are hiding it from others because you can't accept it, or society doesn't deem it, like if you love somebody of the same sex, or you love somebody from a different culture, or same or whatever, just something that you're not hurting anybody else. You're not taking advantage of anyone else. It's just like, this is who your life is. Maybe you don't want to be an engineer or a lawyer that your parents are telling you you're supposed to be, or how you want to live your life. And getting to the point of, I like the idea of using this holiday as the night where you can move through these societal walls where people aren't judging you. And then you just kind of accept yourself, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, this is who I am, I love to do this, and I don't love, that. Or if you're a musician, or I don't know, something where you just love the outdoors more than anything. It's just not a normal societal thing. What people expected you to do. Everyone's. So it was my way of just ble- breaking down those walls and then celebrating. And I created a lot of characters in outrageous carnival like costumes. I had my characters out, and that one opening had about 2,000 people there.
Cool.
And you couldn't like buy the t-shirts or the masks or all these other little uh things that we created. You had to win them. You had to play games to be part of it. And then at the end of the evening, I took a girl in a cocoon and opened her up as a butterfly. And I was wearing this very kind of deep, playful, dark, true self outfit, you know, and it was a magical evening. But and then, also the gallery was filled with all these brand new paintings and everything like that. That was a real special highlight where a lot of my friends, and not just friends, a lot of people in LA still see it as the best art opening ever. It was really a serious, special event.
That sounds fantastic. A lot of people there. I
And I'd
imagine
love
that.
to do it again and again, but it's like it's always hard to
Yeah,
find the kind of funds and get the right kind of, you know,
yeah. We'll, we'll
ability.
we'll get that going again. Give
Yeah.
me X amount of months. We'll get that going.
Okay.
You mentioned that Toby is the keeper of your secrets,
Right.
and I know that you once did a collab with Kid Robot where you made the Midnight Magi,
Yeah.
and you said that he was the keeper of your darkest dreams.
Right. Right.
I guess there are some secrets that you have, or some dreams that you have that maybe are also secrets that you would tell Toby. What are some of your darker dreams? What are ones that maybe aren't secrets?
Oh, I don't know. Actually, here is the Midnight Magi. Well, so I love this guy. I mean, Kid Robot did a beautiful job, and maybe someday VeVe will,
Yeah.
there's a little skeleton back there, and I think the darkest dreams. I think just is the fear for me of not living a full life, a larger than life, and this is actually the watch that we did with Swatch with the Midnight Magi. But for me, I mean, the basic largest dark dream is that I never really accomplished the things I needed to accomplish in this lifetime. The risks that I would like to take, you know, the creating the art that no one else could create but myself, and getting it out there, and the idea of trying to inspire others or even myself from childhood. Because again, ever since I was a little kid, I was drawing. I saw myself as an artist, and there was nothing else I really ever wanted to do. So I had these big expectations for myself. And again, you can never really fulfill these kind of larger than life goals. But for me, being irrelevant or not, you know, touching the zeitgeist of the times that we're living in. And so for me, that's kind of uh, like a dark, a dark dream that is, like, this abyss
I,
of nothingness that you live for nothing.
I feel that if there's anyone that probably doesn't have to feel that way because of how much you've traveled all over the world, people flying out places, going doing stuff for your art, the historical events like taking a picture of Toby in the Vatican hours before the Pope dies. And I feel like you've done more than probably most people in their lives know they ever will. But mentioning art and staying relevant, you've been to Eastern Europe before, Poland, Ukraine. You said it was Auschwitz. Is there any artwork that's coming out that's going to be inspired now by the people of Ukraine or the people of Russia in that conflict?
Well, um, again, I've been to many cities in Russia, which the actual people of Russia are pretty wonderful, and they have like such a long history and a rich history. So I've been to St. Petersburg, Moscow, Kazan, Vladivostok, even, which is the furthest western part of or eastern part of Russia, which is right next to Japan, you know. Um, and it's just horrible that, you know, the conflict and those that are running the country and creating war and conflict over something that doesn't need to be, you know. And then also I've spent time in Ukraine, because my parents are originally from what was once Eastern Poland and now Ukraine, and I got to visit my parents' towns and got to stay with families in my parents' old towns where when my parents were there, it was 90% Jewish, and there's 3,000 people. In 1941, everyone was mass murdered except for a small amount who was able to escape, and my father was one of them. Uh, and my mom was exact same similar situation in a town 30 minutes away. So for me to be able to, I've traveled there twice. I've been there, and the innocent people in Ukraine right now fighting. So I have, like, when the war started, I created artwork to help raise funds for but at the same time, you always want to keep trying to help out, but you're also hoping it'll just stop. The conflict will stop. There's no real need for it. Um, but I'm sure once I get this film done about my family and um, the of me again, I interviewed so many people in these towns, but again, it was about 10 years ago, and maybe there's a reason why the film hasn't come out yet. And when it does, it'll have a better understanding of what's going on with anti-Semitism, and then also with war and conflict, uh, that will mean something about today's time rather than just talking about talk about secrets of the people I met and interviewed, and then going through my parents' towns. Like, I went to this park in my father's town where everyone kind of hangs out on the weekend, drinks beer.
Nice.
Most people don't know that for 300 years, that park was a Jewish cemetery. 70 years ago, all the headstones have been removed to build the base of a forestry school. My great-grandfather was buried in there. And there's like secret that people don't even know it. Under Soviet times, right after the war, they just tore down all the headstones. If you go to Lviv, which is this insanely beautiful Art Nouveau city, which is a few hours out of my father and mother's hometown, and people go there now kind of because it's a kind of a tourist destination, and they had a Jewish cemetery for 800 years that all the headstones were removed. And now there's actually a meat market built. It's actually a gorgeous looking meat market I've took pictures of Toby in there, and I had to leave it before before the owner got there because people were like, "What is this guy doing? Why is he doing?" But there's like a meat market built on top of this Jewish cemetery. I mean, there's so many dark secrets and
Yeah.
things that are unresolved in that part of the world. Because after the war, where like the Germans were forced to reconcile what they did, and in Poland, in ways, there's still the monuments by having the death camps become museums. Ukraine, because the Soviets took it over, just basically whitewashed a lot of it. So many things haven't been resolved from that time period. We're just talking about, again, other kind of secrets and oddness, and then the stories that people tell are, everything starts turning into fairy tales, fantasy that has nothing to do with reality, you know? And then now we're living in a time with these monster devices that people are living their own kind of alternative reality with alternative facts. People want to believe what they want to believe that have nothing to do with reality now. So I don't know. That's a whole nother interesting.
Was that Bosco on your phone that had the bite? It said biter on it.
That's Blackie the cat.
Oh,
That's my old cat that I had for 15 years.
Yeah, you love the black cats. There's
The Bosco is great. Bosco is a flying cat, and I have scars all over my back and of him jumping on me. But Blackie is the one who bit my nose 24 times, drawing blood.
You got some fans of Bosco here. G Money says here for Bosco. Where's Bosco? And you posted.
Yeah, let me go get him. If you give me a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Bosco.
We're getting Bosco. Oh, guys, the drop. All right, so while he's going there, I bet 15,000 points on this drop today, hoping I get one. And I've been selected. So now that I've been selected, I will go hit the buy now. So I had a couple gems in there, and I got the 1328 rare. So it is not the ultra rare or the secret rare, and I spent 15,000 points on this, but we'll see what we get. Oh, there's a baby. Hi, kidders.
Hey, Bosco, this way. They're not your butt. The other way.
He doesn't understand. This Jonas says, hell yeah, it's cat time.
Hey, Bosco, over here. Bosco. Bosco, over here. Yeah. Okay.
Kitty.
Yeah.
All right. We've satisfied the need for the.
There he is.
People.
Hi to your fans.
Hi. Yeah. So majestic.
Yeah,
you posted a picture of Bosco in a tiny Cybertruck earlier this month over on Facebook. And what are your? I know you haven't really been on X too much since Elon took it over.
Right.
What are your thoughts on Elon? What are your thoughts on powerful people in the world? Could he be doing more for the world? Is there things he should be doing different?
I don't want to get too political, but yeah, no, he's somehow turned into the dark side, and using the idea of what free speech is really about, because again, for me, growing up with parents that came out because of totalitarian and authoritarian countries, the idea of America and the notion of democracy and freedom of expression, but at the same time, like, my background is in communication studies. I didn't ever study art formally. And I interned at the Federal Communications Commission in the Fairness and Political Broadcasting branch. And again, because of the broadcast medium, we all knew how very persuasive it can be. And so we had a fairness doctrine that you had to get both sides of a story, or an issue. And then when cable came about during the Reagan administration, they threw away the fairness doctrine because they lived with this notion of, there's an unlimited amount of channels now, where originally with broadcasters like 12 or 13 or something like that.
Yeah.
So now there's unlimited amount of channels, so you don't have to cover what the real truth is. And that's how Fox News came about. It was a cable channel that then, well, actually, it's not
Then they
even
moved.
claimed to be news, but it's an entertainment channel. And I don't even think they're
I like
allowed to be a real news organization.
there's a bunch of those like that.
But anyways, but they function that. So then now with everybody and their brother has their own broadcast channel. I don't think we know the true nature of how dealing with the sense of communication and information to the point where, not to go back to alternative facts that has been deemed, but the idea of creating a Tower of Babel of just nonsense, like even before when we had Twitter, not that those that have lived their life or had a certain amount of success had a star, you were deemed that you were in the public eye, that you spent enough time, and then now he turned it first, he got rid of it unless you want to pay for it. And that had nothing to do with the reality of who you are. Just because you now bought a star doesn't mean you're really who you say you are. And then not being able to, if somebody writes, gobbledygook, at least the old Twitter made a big effort to let you know that that is not true, that the facts do not line up to what you're going to say. Anyways, I think a lot of very crazy wealthy people are looking at the short stick of life and what can benefit them financially or personally, and not necessarily, like we're living at a time where authoritarian and control, or it's not like the old authoritarian kind of fascist. It's almost like there's countries again, like with, for me, like the idea of what Russia is. It's basically just mobster run. That countries now are run by mobsters. That my friends, as long as they give me a taste, will be able to produce whatever they want.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's ever been perfect, but the theory of what democracy was about, where we all have the opportunity, in theory, but it's gone to the point where you just throw that completely out the window. And it's all about like one person controls everything and just puts their cronies and their friends in it. And
Yeah.
those are the people are going to succeed, and everyone else is just going to have to suffer.
Yeah, I see China's like that a lot too, where like, yeah, you can be a big business, but we got to get our piece. I think even Disney only owns, I think, like 41% of their own park, and
Uh-huh.
like the Chinese government owns like the other 59%. It's like,
Really?
what? Yeah,
Yeah.
Disney Hong Kong, I think.
Right.
Uh, on the move away from facts and going on to more opinions, there's a quote I read once that said that everyone has a sense of romance in them. However, some people's sense of romance can be a little dark.
Uh-huh.
So how do you view love and romance, and how does that affect your art, or
No,
how does that
that's
come out?
that's unfortunately that's the way I see art completely. Like if I had to use one sentence to kind of come across with what my art's all about, it's celebrating the beauty of the bittersweetness of life. And that's actually from when I was a child. I thought I had to be perfect and that everything, like I thought everything was gonna literally be on my permanent record. And like I never ditched a day of school. I was like so responsible for everything and anything. I think also dealing with the darkness of my parents' background, of
Yeah,
how both their parents were murdered and their towns were destroyed, and they had to start fresh here in America. I lived with this, um, my own personal expectation. They didn't even put it on me that I had to accomplish something in life. You know, there has to be some kind of like what my purpose is, and so growing up and you know having to be top of my class and graduate UCLA in 4 years straight, I wish I could have just said, "You know what? I could take a quarter off and go to Europe." And if I did that or go to another culture, go to Asia or somewhere or South America, I think my work would have grown even greater by understanding other cultures and the exchange of it. But for me in my head, it's like, oh, I have to take this many units. I've got to do, everything that I had to accomplish at a certain time. This is the age that you're supposed to get married, or this is the age that you're supposed to have a career, or this is the age that you have to buy a house. This is the age. And then when I got to a certain age, and I remember in my mid 20s, and I'm a late bloomer in that respect, and then listening to music like Leonard Cohen and then reading Charles Bukowski and just this darkness and this things about life that, what? Things don't have to be perfect, Things don't have to be forever. And so for me, that's where the notion, the darkness, the acceptance of a failed love or, something that isn't always going to work out can be romanticized. And then also, like, I remember, like, if I was dealing with a breakup, I would sit and just draw like crazy. And for me, it was like, okay, if I went through something that was terribly wrong and 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 painful, if I could create some kind of beauty out of it through my art, then it wasn't a wasted moment, you know? And so that's where, with a lot of my art, it comes from being able to get um, close to that darkness, that sadness, or and being able to capture something in a special way.
That that is so much more healthy than what I do and just go on a bender for 3 days and just drinking and gambling. Uh, I can't deal with.
And that's where he came from.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So today I spent about 15,000 MCP points to make sure I landed this drop.
Mhm.
Tell us about Aru. Am I pronouncing that right?
Ahura, like, yeah, Ahura. I mean, it was kind of like the sound of, like, growing up as a little kid, loving monster movies, but the traditional ones from the 30s and 40s, from Dracula, the Wolf Man, Frankenstein. And ever since I was a little kid, I then also, like, when I was a little kid, I kind of thought I was a vampire, things like that, And I wrote a book called Gary and the Monsters when I was a little kid and stuff. But anyways, he came about from a time after my father passed away, and then all my art kind of turned really dark and gray, where before my work was much more expressive and colorful and playful. Um, but everything just turned gray. It was like when he died, it was, again, in the Jewish religion, you're not supposed to cut your hair or shave for a month. I didn't cut my hair or shave for 9 months, and I'm not even religious. It was just something that held, just this thing kind of overwhelmed me. And then all my art just kind of turned gray. I didn't even do it on purpose. And I was having a show in Milan, and it was a big exhibition. And so this guy, before he was a figure, when it was just a paintings, I created a body of work, and I had a struggle with the gallery because the gallery is like, we want your more colorful, you know, playful, more sexual or other kind of images. That's what people want. I'm like, I can't give it to you. This is what I'm doing. I'm giving you an important exhibition for me.
Yeah.
And he accepted it. And of course, the more I did a few very colorful pieces, and then those are the ones that sold at first. But for me, it was just notion of wanting to feel alive again and having that hunger to want to feel alive, after that loss and
Yeah.
that heartbreak. And so then our work came about. I actually wrote a story that hasn't been published yet of our um, existing, where he actually comes alive only during a full moon.
Oh,
and with his the little girl that has him as a little plush, that he started off as a little plush monster, but would only come alive one night during the full moon, and she would get frustrated that he wouldn't interact, and she didn't know that it was only during a full moon,
yeah.
and that kind of miscommunication in their relationship. But I was creating these paintings based on this just hunger to want to feel alive again. And the idea of blood, the idea of desire and longing for intimacy and love and closeness. And then also this notion of miscommunication with your partner to the point where you end up hurting, blooding, blooding yourself, blooding them, you know, and end up killing a relationship because of the misunderstanding, you know?
Yeah.
So
That's
so that's where he kind of first came about. But then creating him as a figure a few years later with a company called 3D Retro, and he was like crazy successful. And then I started doing my own kind of like artist versions. So kind of like here with the goth horror.
oh cool.
These are
Okay,
kind of hand painted, and then with a little elements kind of added to them. That was the one with the white eyes. This is the guy with the blue eyes, and we've done gold eyes, and we had goth versions. We had glam horror. We've done a lot of. We did sprite horror. Actually, let me get sprite horror.
all right, everyone. We got about 5 seconds for the rebound here at that 15-minute mark.
All right. So, anyways, um, so those are all like hand painted, and we used to offer those to our fans in the day. So, and how are we doing on time? 8:15. Okay,
Yeah. What time did you have to bounce?
soon. Yeah,
Okay.
because I'm getting together, having breakfast with I'm the youngest in my family, and I have
Yeah.
two older brothers and a sister. And it's gonna be my brother's birthday soon, but I'm running to Europe next week, and so we all try to get together at least once a month.
Yeah.
And so they're like 10, 11, 13 years older than me. But then we tried but lots of times we'll just meet at Cantor's, which is here in LA, which is where my mom worked for 35 years in the bakery. So it's kind of, again, an old Jewish deli. And I have my own booth there now. Because again,
Oh, that's great.
I draw a lot while I eat, and I'm kind of known for that.
Yeah.
Um,
You did that once with with me and a couple friends
right.
who went to lunch.
Okay.
Actually, I got that photo there. David and
Over at El
you know,
Coyote, which is
yeah,
also a
Toby in the
really
back.
great place with a really dark history, also Hollywood history, because that's the last place where oh, what's her name? Why am I escaping? The Manson family ended up. It was the last meal that Sharon Tate and her
I,
friends had.
I did not know that. Oh my God.
We talked about it the whole time.
It's been almost 2 years.
Oh, I
Maybe
know.
we did.
Although
Yeah.
I did a really beautiful drawing of Manson and the Sharon Tate and in the booth where they. So that's a whole nother thing I've been doing this Hollywood series. But so at Cantor's, there's a basement booth with 16 of my drawings in there. But like with all my sketchbooks, this one is I just finished this one recently, 156. But it's all the you know, meals or drawings I did. This is so like when I'm eating and drawing,
Yeah.
it's always a nice kind of. There's a great new tiki bar called Lucky Tiki that my friend Bobby Green just opened up. I drew that in the dark, so it was
In the
kind of,
dark.
seriously, it's a tiki restaurant. But I captured it. I was really happy. So like here, this is El Carmen, which is a great little uh, tequila bar. Oops. Again, that place was pretty dark too. But most of the drawings in this book per se is Spain and France. Like this is one of the oldest restaurants in Madrid. But it was amazing. Like when I was traveling and I was obsessed with just capturing everything. This is this place that has orange cava in Valencia. And by the end of the drawing, I know the waiters, I know the owners. They're giving me free drinks or food. It's great. And then like this is with vermouth and anchovies in Barcelona.
Are those wine barrels?
Yeah. Because they make their own vermouth.
Sweet.
But it's so for me it's like how to capture all the different cultures. This is my favorite steak frites place in Paris. So I was going through a breakup and when I got to Europe, and it was like all I had to do was I just needed to hide in my sketchbook. So I was traveling and visiting and just drawing and try to documenting and in my own way. So
there's on the drop that we had, I got 2 rares and an ultra rare. And then the ultra rare I got was a pretty good number. It's number 39, so it's a sub 41, which is nice. Yeah, so I don't get too many of those.
Designing that, it's like, yeah, we should have more blood. It's not funny,
Yeah, I like the heart on the secret rare. Is that meant to be a VeVe heart?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
It is a VeVe heart.
Great. Yeah. I want to keep gambling, but I've already put $66 in, so I got my 3. I'll wait to see what happens in the next minute. We'll see how many there are left.
Right.
And okay, you guys have sold about 45%, maybe about almost half.
Okay. Well, hopefully we sell the rest. Hopefully we sell out.
I'm sure you will, because that secret rare is going to be going for probably a couple $100. Because that secret rare is, I mean, there's one of 88, and VeVe's only keeping 2, so it's 86.
Right. See, for me, it's never for like even with the designer toys and stuff from the very beginning when I was creating Dumb Luck and the Dunces and even Toby. For me, it has nothing to do with collecting and selling and trading and value. Yeah. I just collect the stuff that I have around because it inspires me. And I love it. And it's like it plays a role and adds to the story of my life, But that's a whole nother. But for those that are collecting in that respect, more power to you. This was actually a thing I did of the secret rare.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
So
I love the black claws on them, and the secret rare is going for $375. So I will not go in and put that in. Maybe I'll try to gamble a little bit more. I don't know. Right. Keep you posted.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on.
Engage a little bit more with the VeVe family because, like, ever since I had the first figure, and then also when we did the art pieces when I had my museum show in New Zealand, it was always kind of special to me. In fact, I'm going back out to New Zealand in September because that same museum show is moving to Taupo, which is in the North Island. So because it's such a New Zealand show, and I was able to spend time with David when I was in New Zealand, we're bringing the show back and the extinct moa bird, like Manny, which hopefully maybe VeVe will do a Manny version one day.
He's in your artwork on there, though.
He is. The one we had the show, so that's where But I always for me, I'm excited about the future of what we can do with VeVe. I like the idea of what I really want to do is animate this motherfucker. I wanted him to be running around tearing things apart, and it wasn't able to be done. I'm just happy we're releasing him. But in a perfect world, I would be having him animated, kind of ripping, grabbing, bloody, the just,
Oh, I love
having
that.
a digital collectible that was very kind of like full force. And for me, the excitement of creating some kind of metaverse that
Yeah.
my basement figures could be living in, that could expand, and then watch what fans and collectors can do with those spaces and what can be built,
We'll get that in the VeVe verse. We'll get that done.
Yeah. Well,
Gary, thanks so much for coming on. I love you, brother. We'll talk soon. All right.
all right. Thanks so much for the support. And
Have fun.
thanks, Stevie.
Bye, guys.
All right.
Bye, Ditchy.
Yeah.
Screen.
There we go.